Okay, item 18, page 117.
Item 17, report from the Maori.
Oh, Maori Committee.
Item 17.
Item 17, Mr Mohi.
It's not written down, Mr Moore. It's all up here.
We could come back to it while you prepare. While you prepare. Got last month's papers.
Get Porter.
We'll get Mr. We'll do item 18 first. Yeah. I can imagine. Okay, let's go to, instead we'll come back to Mr Moorhead, don't panic. On page 117, the annual plan requirement, etc. You take us through that, please, Mr Drury.
Yeah, Mr Chairman, I've
You
put
can take
this...
it as read, but...
Yeah.
Oh, you've got to shoot home to get something.
I'm happy for that.
Quickly shoot us
Yeah,
through.
I'd just like to say, I mean, we all know the annual plan is about and it needs to be done, and this paper just introduces it before Christmas and says, yes, we are thinking about it, gives you an update of what the Local Government Act says about annual plans, and there have been some changes in there. It's all on variations from the long-term plan. I think you're probably aware that the long-term plan's the big plan, and when you move into an annual plan, you say what you've varied. So it's all based on variations. Consultation requirements, yes, there is a change where there's some material changes, and indeed for us there will be, because cash flows for the Ruataniwha are indeed substantially changed. And the definition of materiality, we've had loads of discussions over the last few months in the sector. You're better to, if figures move, you're better to say, well, there has been a change, rather than wait for people to say there has been a material change and you haven't consulted. So I think my recommendation would be to err on the side of consulting. There's also the Tuki-Tuk rating question mark that could come through, and that is certainly what would be interpreted as a material change for those affected. So we will be moving into a consultation document. Annual plans didn't used to have consultation documents, but new legislation says they're here again in the same way as LTPs. So we'll take the same approach. We'll have a consultation document up late March for council to adopt for going up to consultation. It'll be backed up by supporting accountability documents, and there'll be a number of those in the same way as we had the long-term plan. And the actual long-term plan will be produced a little later. Audit requirements, well, for annual plan there isn't any. However, if we amend an LTP, there will be a need for that, and the Tuki-Tuk flood and drainage scheme rating could trigger that, because there will be an amendment to the revenue and financing policy. And Mr Chairman, I've put down there some of the issues that I'll be putting up. I and the group managers will be putting up to the first annual plan workshop scheduled for the 17th of February, which is planned to be held in the afternoon of the corporate, or at least after the corporate strategic committee meeting, depending what's on that agenda. So that is proposed to be on that day, and I've put down a number of topics here that you can over Christmas go away and think about, and know that I'll be presenting PowerPoints taking you through these issues and the effect that these issues will have on the budget, and whether there's any what sort of changes there are to the long-term plan. Hopefully not too major, but we'll go through all these issues here. So it's a heads up for you to read over the break instead of a good book.
I think, Mr Chairman, perhaps with the exception of the Section 36 science charges, which
has
pretty
been
much
resolved.
decided,
Yes,
resolved
indeed.
this morning, so
Indeed.
you don't need to
worry
spend
about,
any more
we'll
time
even consider
wondering
that.
about those.
The proposed timelines are of value as well, because it's good to know where you headed. I'll put them up again in the workshop, but you'll note there the timelines come through into dates for future annual plan workshops, if indeed there is a need for it, and I think there probably will be. 2nd of March and 16th of March, certainly the 2nd of March is a good opportunity. And then the adoption of the consultation document and supporting accountabilities in the 30th of March, 5-week consultation, and it comes out from there. A similar sort of process, but at least you've got it there in a timeline.
Peter, and then Debbie. Yeah.
Thanks for this paper, Paul. It's quite a helpful summary to guide what's going to happen in the timeline. But I do note that what's missing from it is anything under the issues to be addressed. What's missing is something to do with this system.
Oh, no, thank you, Councillor. It's under 14.9 where I refer to capital budgets. I haven't specifically referred to that. I could have put it in. We are making good progress on that.
Don't want to lose sight of it.
We are making good progress, aren't we?
Yeah.
Liz and I are working on that, or we have staff working on it, and we envisage coming up with a proposal for you to consider at that first annual plan workshop about what can be done and at what cost, and then you'll be able to make a decision on the impact of that.
Megaphones and candles, that's where we're going. Councillor Hewitt.
Thanks, Paul. So, look, with all due respect, and I know you put a lot of time into these long-term plan and annual plan timelines and presentations, and I just hate PowerPoints. Death by PowerPoint. So I'm kind of wondering if there's an opportunity to mould it a little differently, then I guess now's the time to say, and we've had discussions over the last 2 years about some of the other aspects that councillors see as may be add value into building these annual plan processes, and one was early on where you put all of the budgets on the screen and everything, you chop and change it. It comes out on the bottom line under a Excel spreadsheet or whatever, and then we've had some discussions recently actually, about painting a whole big picture, regional picture, and saying, look, here's all the regional parks, this is what it looks like, this is where we're going, and or here are our strategic assets, where are we going with those, and looking at it a little differently. So I'm wondering, with the feedback that's been coming in over the 2 years, what is changing in here?
Well, there's a number of things. Certainly, and thanks for reminding me, the use of strategic assets and the financial strategy covering those. I should have had that down as one. Well, it wasn't an annual plan issue; it was a financial strategy issue. But I do intend to put up a presentation around the financial strategy, so as we all can go over it again and just form in our mind. Yes, that's what that's what the long-term plan had as a financial strategy. Do we want to amend it? And if so, what impact that would have? So I'll certainly do that. On the question of PowerPoints, it's an interesting one because I used to not use PowerPoints about 6 or 7 years ago. Yeah, and it used to be paper, and because you've either got to have paper or you have PowerPoints, and overwhelmingly the vote at that time was, look, put it up in a summarised form, give us some sheets, and we do give you some sheets, but they're very heavy in numbers. But normally and I must admit I was a reluctant starter because I did like my pile of paper and I knew them all. But I think, well, personally, I think the messaging you can get through PowerPoints and the interaction during the debate is healthy, but certainly you and I can go through. If you'd like to drop down to more detail, I'm always happy to go through some of that level of detail, so as you can suggest other things you want put up on the board, because this is a combined process. We put it up in discussion and we add to it.
Perhaps, Councillor, you and I could audit the presentation before it comes in front of you.
I'm sure you could. That would be appreciated.
Peer review it. Councillor Belford.
On this schedule, it looks like there basically would be 3 opportunities to review any issues presented before we actually have to adopt a plan that goes public. And so in that first 2-3 months of the year, if various politicians meet their commitments, there might be some proposals on the table for joint funding for that whole set of issues that has been raised about, are there areas where we should be joint funding or joint rating or what have you. I don't see that issue on here as something that I would think we would want to be watching that space and being prepared to weigh into that space more proactively as to whether we have some ideas to put on the table, whether that's with respect to tourism or economic development or any other area that might surface, is that something, I mean, it would seem like if we were going to be entertaining anything along those lines, we pretty much have to see it and react to it by end of March 16th.
Sure, yeah. Through you, Mr Chairman, 14.8, which talks about regional rate collection, is probably a very prescriptive way of describing it, but that's certainly the paragraph 14.8 of the paper. But that's certainly, I guess, the pathway into that broader discussion which we would want to have at the workshop about the very matter that you've raised, either joint funding or regional council funding on behalf of, or and how that might work.
So at our big collective meeting in the theater the other day, we put 9 people on the stage to tell us that they weren't ready to tell us anything because they had forgot about consulting with Maori. And now they're not proposing to give us a regional economic development strategy until March, I think was the date. What do we make of that? And you really expect there's going to be anything that surfaces that will be actionable?
I could have a go at answering that. The REDS review, let's touch on that to start with. It wasn't so much they hadn't consulted with Maori, it's just with the treaty process going through its machinery rolling, they haven't quite worked out where they fit into life yet. And that's not a criticism, it's a fact, and watch out when they do, because they're going to be a force to be reckoned with, absolutely. But the REDS review, I suppose, is a symptom of these things take a bit longer than you think. The regional rate collection stuff, which has been kicked around for a long time, on things such as tourism, Sport Hawke's Bay, those sorts of things, the door's open here. But yeah, I'd hope we get there. I really do, on a couple of things at least, for next financial year. But there's nothing really sitting in a concrete, tangible form right now. Would that be correct?
No,
Yeah.
that's right.
We claim the regional mantle here, and so it seems to me this would be an opportunity for us to put 2 or 3 things on the table for our colleagues to react to.
No, I'd buy that. Any other questions? No PowerPoint, regional rates. You're happy to move, Councillor Dick. Seconder for that. Thank you, Councillor Bevan. Wish to speak further? So you've taken a few notes there, obviously. Guys, seconder, you wish to speak? Put the motion. All those in favour, please say aye. Contrary, no. Carried. Now, Mr Mohi, are we ready to rock and roll?
Yeah, I had my agenda at home with just over an hour of notes, so I'll just summarise it for you in 2 minutes. There's the first one regarding follow-ups from the previous meetings. This is really passing the buck here. Maori names on council logo. I'll ask the CEO to comment on that. I understand you're putting Maori names on all the trucks, cars. Is that correct? Even the private
not
ones?
necessarily. I think I was supposed to follow up on that and I hadn't, so I apologised for that. I don't have anything else. We haven't had an exec meeting. Well, we have. I wasn't at it yesterday. So I just need to discuss that with 1 or 2 of my colleagues about the costs for that.
I don't think it's going to be as easy as some of the Māori members think, because they can't agree on anything. Say on the Karamu, the next hapu, half a k down the stream, we're arguing about some of the things. So whatever you come up with will be a good argument on the day.
Sorry, that's Maori names on what?
On the councillors' cars, wasn't it?
So
The council logo, Councillor Dick.
is that a translation of Nissan or something?
Yes. Yeah. Yes. So also at the meeting, it looks as if there's a changing of guard in terms of the Wairau members. Had one tentative member had been asked to attend, and he made Des Ratimar look like a dwarf. So, and also Bill, what's Bill's name? sits here, from Bill Blake, and Fred, Mick Robbins, are retiring from the Maori committee for the next meeting probably. Yeah. So there'll be 2 new members, rather than waiting till next October. They've got ahead of themselves a bit. Fred in particular, the chair, had a letter of thanks to him. He's been on for 10, 12 years. Yeah.
I'll just comment on that.
Yeah.
But I haven't sent it yet because they wish him, because we're going to Wairoa next year, they want him to be the member there, and I'll present it to him there.
Okay. So, just reiterating the fact that we're having 2 meetings in the regions next year. The first Maori Committee meeting is due in February 13th, and so we'll be having the Māori meeting in Wairoa and asking the Wairoa Regional Council member, which is Fenton, to attend, the treaty group member to attend, as well as any of the Māori members from Aheratanga, Ahuriri and Tamatea. But I'm anticipating only the Wairoa myself, and the councillors have indicated, the Māori members from the council, the council laws have indicated that they would like to attend. The 15th is?
Everyone's welcome.
Yep, everybody's welcome. We just want to make sure those people are there. And also, what we don't want to happen is what happened when we visited there early in December, that we got bogged down with the Wairoa River. So what we're going to do is send out the very good papers written by Mike Adey in the year 2000, which are completely relevant today in terms of rating ability for Wairoa, the building of stop banks, and how, unless they want their rates to go up several 100%, it's actually not on. So we don't want to get bogged down on that. We just want to say that's an issue, spend 10 minutes with it, and rather than carry on all day moaning about the council. The other thing we discussed at the meeting was the recreational water quality, and in terms of Ocean Beach, Waipuka as we call it, the local landowners had a shoot up there, and they excluded Councillor Graham because they wouldn't have been able to compete with him. And 150 birds were shot in one day, geese, and they estimate there's probably only about 23 left. And they're gone to Wairoa, understand. What else did we have there? Oh, just in terms of item 11 regarding overview of key regional council plans and strategies. Very good paper. What page is it on? 13. Very good paper there to give members an understanding of the workings of the councils. It's just anticipated also that Joyce Ann will be taking that paper to the Wairoa meeting, just to give members an idea of some of the so-called mysteries that come out of the councils, and how the plans work, etc., etc. So that was about it. Could have been a lot longer, but I left my notes behind. Thank you.
Not bad at short notice. Okay, any other questions for Mr. Mohi? Very thorough summation of the day. You're happy to move, Councillor Scott. Thank you. Councillor Pipe, happy to second. Put that motion. All those in favour, please say aye. Contrary, no. Carry.